From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Melinda Akilami.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Muslims in Nigeria joined their counterparts in other parts of the world to celebrate Eid-al-Kabir amidst calls for unity amongst Nigerians and decisive action by the government to secure the citizens. The president urges Nigerians to report bandits, kidnappers and terrorists who live in their midst to help government tackle insecurity. 7 more passengers kidnapped during the March 28 attack on a Kaduna-bound train from Abuja regained their freedom after over 100 days in captivity. Sri Lankan president agrees to step down after protesters stormed his official residence and setting the Prime Minister's house ablaze.
And on business news tonight, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria asked federal government to grant them licenses to import diesel from neighboring Niger and Chad.
On sports news tonight, Elena Rybakina becomes the first player from Kazakhstan to win a Grand Slam title after beating Tunisian Ons Jabeur in the Wimbledon women's final.
Muslims in Nigeria today joined their counterparts across the world to celebrate Eid al-Kabir, a festivity that commemorates the willingness of Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son. The event is marked with the slaughtering of a ram meant to take the place of the Prophet Ibrahim's son. Here in Nigeria, prayers have been held at various prayer grounds across the country as part of the festivity. In Lagos, the faithful converged on the Lagos Island Central Mosque, where the chief imam challenged the government to do more in securing the country. Prayers and other activities to mark the day also held in some other parts of the south.
Muslim faithful make their way into the Lagos Island Central Mosque to observe the Eid-al-Kabir prayer. This year, Eid-al-Adha prayer is not taking place at the Dodan barracks owing to the rainfall. The All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the deputy governor Kadri Hamzat, among others, are also present at the mosque to pray to Almighty Allah. A call to the authorities from the Chief Imam of Lagos.
We appeal to the government to exert effort in making our country a safe haven by equipping the security agencies.
After the prayers, the APC presidential candidate says he will work towards improving the living condition of the people.
Looking at our successes and failures, learn from it, improve our country and the condition, quality of life of our people.
In Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, Muslim faithful converge at the Lantoro Central Praying Ground for the same reason. The former Chief of Staff to Governor Dapo Abiodun encourages the people to pray for the nation and not lose hope.
Nigeria will rise again. That's why our current challenge is Nigeria will rise. We must not give up on Nigeria. We must not give up on ourselves.
It's the same message, this time in Oyo State, where Governor Seyi Makinde preaches religious harmony.
We're all one, and we see ourselves first and foremost as citizens of Oyo State.
In Port Harcourt, the River State capital, the Eid-al-Kabir prayer was also observed, after which the chief imam performed the ceremonial ram slaughtering. Edo State is also not left out. Muslim leaders in Imo State mark the Eid-al-Kabir celebration at the government house, where they receive food items from the government. As the festivity continues, Muslims have been urged not to lose sight of the true meaning of Eid-al-Kabir and imbibe the Islamic character in their daily activities.
In northern Nigeria, hundreds of Muslims trooped out to observe the special prayer as they are encouraged to live peacefully with one another and pray for the nation.
The Eid-al-Kabir celebration is a commemoration of the sacrifice of Prophet Ibrahim, who was asked to sacrifice his son. And just when he was about to do so, God provided him a ram instead. To commemorate activities for the day, the governors of Nasarawa, Niger, and Kogi states were at the prayer grounds at their states, where they harp on the lessons of tolerance, peace, and sacrifice.
This is an Eid for us to understand one another, to forgive one another, to be truthful with one another.
The message I have for the people of Kogi State, the younger generation, and Nigerians generally, is that we should continue to live in peace and be law-abiding.
I call on all Nigerians to pray for this country, to pray for peace and unity of this country. It is a fact that we have been facing security challenges, and while the security agencies are doing their best to contain the situation, I think it is time for us to reflect in our various capacities, in our different regions, to pray for this country.
In Kano State, Governor Ibrahim Ganduje sues for peace and vigilance, while in Kaduna, former Governor Ramalan Yero and the renowned Islamic cleric Sheikh Ibrahim Gumi seek for peace, while calling on the government to reject its security apparatus.
I appeal to the people of Kano State to continue to be law-abiding, but most importantly to be security conscious because of what is happening all over the country.
Is that we should have the fear of God, we should go back to our Creator and seek for His help so that our situation in this country will improve.
And I think this is a time where the nation can come and pray seriously after doing what is necessary to see that normalcy is maintained or is returned back to the country.
The message of tolerance, peace, and the need for Muslims to get their permanent voters card is emphasized.
As we march closer to the 2023 elections, we must be poised with our voter cards and be resolute towards handing power to those who can change things in our country for the better.
In a press statement signed by the Director General Press Affairs, Ismaila Misili, the Gombe State Governor Inuwayaya urges Muslims to imbibe the teachings of the Prophet, while faithfuls in Zamfara, Taraba, Yobe, and Adamawa states all observe the celebration amidst a call for adequate security.
The president also joined other Muslims in his hometown of Daura for the 2 Rakat prayer at the Kofa Arewa prayer ground. President Muhammadu Buhari prayed alongside the Emir of Daura, Umar Farouk Umar, and other dignitaries. After the prayers, he called for peaceful coexistence of Nigerians and deplored the continued killings in the country.
President Muhammadu Buhari arriving the Kofa Arewa Eid prayer ground in Daura, Katsina State. The chief imam of Daura Central Mosque, Sheikh Safiyanu Yusuf, leads the 2 Rakat Eid-al-Kabir prayer. The
president has spent the last 1 year outside his country home, and amidst security escorts, he walks most of the way home from the prayer ground to felicitate with people in Daura. At home, members of the National Youth Service Corps serving in Daura pay him homage. He uses the opportunity to admonish them on national unity.
After my training, after my school, I went to military, so I was all over Nigeria. And I found out my posting was to Abeokuta and then to Lagos. And then before NYSC, there are people from Lagos that never went out of the Lagos Island. And then they found themselves in Maiduguri or Sokoto or here. And this is very, very good for Nigeria, so that people don't get the impression that the only part of Nigeria that exists is their own locality. Nigeria is so vast, culturally, ethnically, and religiously, and we have to learn to tolerate and live with each other.
The president urges the youths to explore the opportunities provided by technology and ensure personal development and a more competitive means of livelihood. While appreciating the Corps members for their service to the country, the president seeks the collaboration of all Nigerians in the efforts to fight insecurity.
The people that are organizing themselves and are taking institutions and so on, they know them, let them report them to the security agencies. We want peace so that we can make progress, real progress. I hope the rest of Nigerians that are making trouble, the terrorists and so on, will understand Nigeria's problem is for people to be productive in terms of producing the food we eat. Well, I hope they will sit and reflect and make sure that they save their names and the names of their families.
He is optimistic that the rainy season will be good and the people productive.
In the nation's capital, many Muslim faithful gathered at various prayer grounds amidst heavy security presence to observe the special prayers. Tolerance, national unity and peaceful coexistence dominate the Eid-al-Kabir sermon and messages from Islamic clerics. The chief imam of Abuja National Mosque also cautions against terrorist financing and payment of ransom to kidnappers.
Muslims in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, file into the National Prayer Ground to observe the 2022 Eid-al-Kabir prayers amidst tight security checks. The heavy presence of arms-bearing security officials here reflects the volatile security situation in the nation's capital in recent times. Inside the prayer ground, a protective barricade separates the crowd from this restricted area, where the chief imam of the Abuja National Mosque leads the special prayer.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
At the Islamic Brotherhood of Nigeria Mosque in Karu, Muslims also gather for a prayer session to mark the day. After the prayers is the traditional slaughtering of the ram, which is a major emblem of the day. According to Islamic teachings, the Eid al-Kabir celebration is a commemoration of the Prophet Ibrahim, who was asked to sacrifice his son, and just when he was about to do so, God provided a ram instead. Islamic clerics enjoin Nigerians to learn from the self-sacrificing spirit of the Prophet and peacefully coexist.
The message is how can we as Muslims, as faithfuls, learn from what Ibrahim alayhi salam did in sacrificing his beloved child for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can we learn that and contextualize it in our own reality by sacrificing for justice, for equity, for peace to reign, and for harmony?
I will still enjoy Nigeria that we should please embrace peace. in all ramifications.
The chief imam of the Abuja National Mosque also cautions against terrorism financing, as well as payment of ransom to kidnappers.
If we apply this teaching of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and stop financing the abductors by paying huge ransoms, I'm sure the kidnapping will be a history in a spate of weeks.
Although Eid-al-Kabir is an annual Islamic celebration, the messages coming from the occasion are undoubtedly important for national development.
In part two, after the break, vehicles swept away as heavy rainfall causes flooding in Lagos and neighboring Ogun State. That's in a moment. Stay with us. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Muslims in Nigeria joined their counterparts in other parts of the world to celebrate Eid-al-Kabir amidst calls for unity amongst Nigerians and decisive action by the government to secure the citizens. The president urges Nigerians to report bandits, kidnappers and terrorists who live in their midst to help government tackle insecurity. 7 more passengers kidnapped during the March 28 attack on a Kaduna-bound train from Abuja regained their freedom after over 100 days in captivity. And Sri Lankan president agrees to step down after protesters stormed his official residence, setting the prime minister's house ablaze. Outside the shores of the country in Saudi Arabia, where Muslims are performing the Hajj in an attempt to ensure effective management of time, crowd control and cleanliness around the Holy Kaaba during the Hajj, the Saudi Arabian government have introduced several technological innovations, from erecting the world's 4th tallest tower housing the world's largest clock overlooking the Kaaba to highlighting the importance of time in Islam. The Saudi Arabian government also introduced the use of robots at strategic sections of the Holy Mosque to sterilize the air, as well as guide pilgrims against challenges during Hajj. Our correspondent Abubakar Saliu reports.
Sitting on the topmost floor of the World Clock Tower in Mecca is a specialized museum that uses astronomy to define the concept of time in the universe. The museum clearly defines the idea of solar system within the Milky Way galaxy of stars, where 9 planets revolve around the sun to give rise to day and night, and the alternation of seasons. Hence, Muslims are asked to observe prayers at specified hours of the day. The curator explains the inspiration behind the World Clock Tower.
The Mecca clock inside consists of 2 main components. The King Abdullah Center for Crescent Observation and Astronomy, and then the museum, the Astronomy Museum. There's 2 main topics, the astronomy and the timekeeping. Those are the main subjects. It shows that the universe is huge and large, and then even if it's huge and large and complicated, it turns and functions with an accurate, with a lot of precision.
In another development, the 11 robots introduced into the Grand Mosque now ensure cleanliness, especially sterilization of the air around the Kaaba against airborne diseases like COVID-19. Also, some of the robots are programmed to give guidance and direction to pilgrims.
There is 27 interpreter all around the Grand Mosque for the translation. They have 14 languages to guide all the Hajj and Umrah who is coming for Umrah. And there is 10 areas.
According to the Saudi authorities, plans are underway to employ more artificial intelligence into the conduct of the Muslim annual pilgrimage. since the idea behind the adoption of science and technology into the Hajj exercise is to spur Muslims towards proper utilization of time and ease to worship God in the Holy Mosque. It is hoped that the pilgrims will take advantage of the innovations. From the Grand Mosque in Mecca, Abubakar Salihu, Channels Television.
It's a case of water everywhere as flood took over some communities in Lagos and Ogun State following the early morning downpour today. In Lagos, the flood descended in full force on Oyatoki Street, the Penn Cinema and the Obanikoro axis of the state, just as the Mowe Ofada Road in Obafemi Owode local government area of Ogun State had its fair share of flooding.
This is Oyato Keith Street in Orile Agege and the Penn Cinema areas of Lagos State after a heavy downpour on Saturday. The flood is so severe that these Lexus Jeep and Toyota cars are overwhelmed following the overflow of a canal in the Oyato Key area. Officials of the National Emergency Agency, NEMA, said 3 people were rescued from the water, while 2 others are still missing after being caught in the Oyato Key flood. Elsewhere in Lagos, flooding has also overtaken parts of Ikorodu Road, which is a major link road within the metropolis, with motorists driving through the water. The Ishawo area in Ikorodu is also not spared, as residents are caught up in the flood. In neighboring Ogun State, the Mowe Ofada Road in Obafemi Owode local government area is also not spared, as the flood waters completely overwhelmed the uncompleted dual carriageway.
Everywhere is flooded.
Residents say the completed section, now covered with water, has collapsed, while the other side remains abandoned. The heavy downpour, which began in the early hours of Saturday, contributed to the massive flooding in these areas.
Meanwhile, at least 4 bodies are said to have been recovered after a boat carrying passengers from Mile 2 on route Ibeshe in the Ojo area of Lagos State capsized last night. According to the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Ibrahim Fariloye, the fiber boat was carrying 16 people when it capsized at about 7:45 p.m. on Friday. He said the tide caused the boat to drift to a stationary barge, which caused the boat to overturn. In Kaduna State, 7 more passengers kidnapped during the March 28 train attack have been released by the terrorists. The victims released by their abductors today after spending over 100 days in captivity. Although the security agencies are yet to confirm the development, Mr. Tuka Mahmood, a member of the negotiating team and media consultant to Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, told Channels Television that the victims were released based on dialogue and negotiation with the terrorists, but he did not say if any ransom was paid before their release. According to him, amongst the free passengers are Sadiq Abdullahi, the son of the chairman of the Northern Elders Forum, Professor Ango Abdullahi, Bosede Olurotimi, Abubakar Zubairu, and Alassane Sule. Others are Mohammed Dabyabu Paki, Aliu Usman, and the only foreign national of Pakistani origin, Dr. Mohammed Abzal Al-Fal. Mr. Mahmoud disclosed that the 7 released hostages have been handed over to the military and that they were on their way to Kaduna State. 62 of the passengers were kidnapped during the attack. A total of 18 of them have now been released. From Kaduna, we move to Nasarawa State, where the police have recaptured an escaped inmate of the Kuje Custodial Center after an attack on the facility. Hassan, whose name and picture is among the escaped inmates with Boko Haram terrorism case published by the federal government on Friday, was rearrested by police operatives of the Nasarawa State Police Command in Kefi. The State Commissioner of Police, Adeshino Shoyemi, says the suspect is being transferred to a safer location while intensive search continues for other escapees who might have run to the state, while the handing over process of the arrested inmate progresses. He appreciates the efforts of the police operatives and members of the public. Meanwhile, former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuka Buratai, has called for proper and timely processing of intelligence and quick action plans to counter all threats to national security. Addressing journalists at an event in the nation's capital, Abuja, Lieutenant General Buratai says the attack on the prisons would have been averted if such crucial steps were taken. He says it's not too late to reorganize the national security strategy with the collaboration of Nigerians.
As for the Kuje attack, it's something that, we've been talking about. Something that you must always look at, something in the line of being proactive. Okay, as timely intelligence is very important, and then the reaction, the preparedness of those on the ground who are to take action must also be, well prepared and be on the alert at all times. So I've spoken in different fora in terms of the need for the comprehensive approach in tackling the national security issues now. Banditry, how the Northeast issue was tackled. It requires, everybody to be on board. All hands must be on deck to ensure that this cankerworm of insecurity is tamed. All right, and it's not only the government or even the security agencies, individuals, you pressmen, they have a lot to do. Okay, because most of these things are even propaganda.
The remains of Reverend Father Christopher Odia Ogedegbe have been laid to rest, with sympathizers demanding an end to kidnapping and other crimes in the country. The 41-year-old Reverend Father, who was the administrator of St. Michael Catholic Church, Ikabibo, and principal of St. Philip Catholic Church Secondary School at Jatu, Edo State, was abducted on the morning of June the 26th while coming out of his rectory to attend the Sunday Mass and was later killed. Our correspondent, Jessica Olubusere, has this report.
Immaculate Conception Cathedral, Auchi, is the venue of a funeral mass for the slain Catholic priest.
I took a cabin biscuit to celebrate a safe release of Father Christopher Odia. No sooner had we finished the prayer and distributed a biscuit among the brethren than one of us, Mr. Gabriel Okwekwe, holding a cell phone, tapped me to say, Father Odia has been killed.
The church also remembers another man.
We thank Malam Nuruddin, the chairman of the Ikabibo Hunter Squad, whose death preceded that of Father Odia. He died fighting for the safety, the release of a Catholic priest.
Father Christopher's aged parents and relatives struggle with their pain. Robert Odia Ogedegbe is the immediate elder brother of the murdered priest.
A man that is so meek, not violence, was taken such in a cruel manner and gruesomely murdered. And I'm still yet to come to terms with the fact that some people are wicked.
Mourners ignore the rain to pay their last respects to Father Christopher.
Why should somebody attempt to make a priest his or her slave when he is already a slave of God the Most High? It is an abomination to think of that at all.
The acting governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shaibu, also has some words.
As government,
We are taking a lot of measures, working with the church from our Security Council meeting to scale. We want to just save our own state. We want to see how we can just hold our own state. Because this thing is a major problem for the country. It's really painful. Not just because he's a priest. At the age of 40, 41, not when you want to lose your young one. Thank God for her.
Tributes to the slain priest follow.
Seeing your lifeless body every day for the past 12 days in the mortuary was not easy.
A strong desire here is that the nation is secure enough that no priest or any other Nigerian dies in the hands of criminals again. Jessica Olubuse, Channels Television News.
Our thoughts and prayers are with his family members at this sad time. To other stories now, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has asked members of his cabinet to begin to prepare their handover notes for easy transfer of power after next year's general elections. Governor Wike gave the instruction while swearing in 5 new commissioners at the council chamber of the Government House in Port Harcourt. He said his successor should not be made to suffer what he suffered, claiming that his predecessor did not hand over any document upon his swearing in 2015.
We're certain at our tenure, and you know that at the last appointees, at the last batch of people who were working in this administration, more is required of you. When you appoint any leader to come and take office, it's difficult. When you're also leaving, it's difficult. So you have to put all the records together. And everybody should, as a matter of fact, put the records of their various ministries. You won't wait till May 29, 2023. No. You have to start now, since administration started in 2015, what we have done, and so that, by grace of God, when the new person comes, it will be unlike me, where I didn't get any handover note. By grace of God, the new person will have a handover note.
Now, the prices of foodstuff in the country continues to rise is no longer news. The question is how most families have been coping with the rising cost of putting food on their table. Staple foods such as rice, beans, and gari, which are supposed to be staple foods in the country, are increasingly becoming a lot more difficult to buy. In this report, Channels Television goes to the streets and markets of Port Harcourt, the River State capitals, and brings us an update on the situation.
Food vendors loudly calling out to passers-by, trying to outdo each other in canvassing patronage, is a common sight in most Nigerian markets. The popular slaughter market in Port Harcourt is no different. However, a visit to the food section of the market tells a story about how prices continue to escalate on an almost daily basis.
This rice, we sell it last year, 16,000, 17 for one bag, but now it's 25,000.
Al-Hassan Musa, who deals in sweet potatoes and onions, explains that he usually brings in his goods from the northern parts of the country. And up until January this year, the cost of transportation was relatively cheaper, but that has changed.
The thing for north is very cheap, just now transport they make the thing up.
The story is pretty much the same with other commodities, such as fish and palm oil, respectively.
This in the market is very expensive. When we ask them, why does the fish increase like this, they say they lock border.
The way things take cost, even if we be buyer, it affects us, buyers.
A visibly angry shopper, Benita, laments how expensive things are while wondering what to tell her husband when she gets home.
I came to buy chicken
But unfortunately, the chicken I used to buy for like 3,500 thereabouts, I got for 6,000 today. It's crazy, it's mad. I can't just help it. Like I'm running crazy. What do I tell my husband I went to the market to do?
At the much bigger Mile 1 market, the story is not much different. The prices of rice, beans, millet and other grains have shot up significantly.
As of last year, the price of foodstuff were very low last year, but this year is very, very high.
The chairman of Mile 1 Market Union, Nkesi Benjamin, calls on the government to intervene in the escalating prices of goods.
We, the automotive market, we have been seeing how the cost is all over the market, and they want government to intervene in the prices.
Interestingly, the price of gari appears to have remained consistent with very minimal increase, despite the increase in the cost of transportation. While concerns grow over the continued rise in the prices of foodstuff, citizens may have to work out ways of coping with the situation, while it remains to be seen how relevant authorities plan to tackle the challenge.
It's been 3 months since the Anambra state government issued notices to residents whose property are on drainage channels to remove them. Now, the state government says it is determined to open up the channel until it gets to the River Niger. The State Commissioner for Information, Mr. Paul Nwosu, says the Anambra state government is determined to fix the state, and the demolition will continue until the over 200 structures obstructing the free flow of water are completely removed.
This is Wangene Sakamori Waterways in Onitsha, Anambra State, an area characterized by heavy flooding arising from sanitation challenges due to obstruction on the channels. Earlier in March, after his inauguration, the state governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, had visited the area to have a clear view of the situation. Residents whose buildings are built on the waterways were then ordered to remove them or have them demolished by the state government. 3 months on, and after several collective and personal notices, the people remain adamant, forcing the government to begin the demolition. Several structures, including fences, are brought down to open up the waterways. At the Wangene drainage channel, while the task force attempts to pull down a structure belonging to a Pentecostal church pastor, Evangelist Chukwemeka Ohanemere, popularly known as Odumeje, a little drama plays out as he tries to halt the process before he's stopped by security personnel. However, residents hail the state government over the move.
We are very, very happy for what he's doing, so let him keep it up.
It's a good outcome. We do appreciate it.
The facilities of St. Dominic's Catholic Church, Fege, where some of their structures are obstructing the waterways, are also brought down.
The government said that this is the best thing he has to do for the good of Anambrian. I'm in support of it.
For the Commissioner for Information, the exercise is the mandate of the Soludo administration towards getting Onitsha and Anambra State to work again.
All the structures occupying water channel would be removed so that the place will become habitable for people.
Meanwhile, the governor calls for a press conference, asking the defaulters to get ready to receive the bill on the demolition by the government.
We had asked the people who had built on these channels to remove them by themselves. Now that they have failed, and I'm telling you, by the time we finish these demolitions, it's costing money to do that. It's costing us money to do the demolitions. It's going to cost money to take away the debris. We're going to put down the cost and send each one of them the bill.
Flooding is the recurring challenge many residents face in Anambra State due to obstruction on the water channels and poor sanitation. The Soludo-led administration seems resolved to curb this problem by first ridding the state of all illegal structures.
To aviation now, the new Terminal 2 at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport has failed to attract patronage from foreign airlines months after it was opened. Currently, only Nigeria's flag carrier, that's Air Peace, has moved its operations from the old international terminal to the new one. The facility's rejection appears to be connected with its apron space, a constraint for operating aeroplanes to park. Our aviation correspondent, Bukola Joe Oketumbi, has this report.
This is the new terminal at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The airport, which was commissioned in March 2022, is estimated to be worth over $100 million. It's one of the 5 international airports in Nigeria that benefited from the 2013 $500 million loan deal between Nigeria and China. The long-awaited facility is meant to complement and create an avenue for the old international terminal to be decongested.
The old terminal is overstretched already, capacity. So we're going to move some of them to this place, but most importantly, it will ease the stress of congestion that we were having at the former terminal. That's our Terminal 1.
3 months down the line, Terminal 2 is home to only Air Peace. Many of the foreign carriers are not here over different concerns. The managing director of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria at an earlier event said the carriers may be forced to move.
No airport system will say you want to relocate from one terminal, you move everybody. It will crash. The first order was to move those airlines that do morning and afternoon flights first, so that at least it will be congested. So there are morning just move it there, so it's one airline. So that the morning will be reduced and the evening. It's unfortunate some say they will not move, but we allow them because we are not ready to compel them to move.
While it appears the airlines are not willing to budge, experts in the industry cite concerns over lack of parking spaces and most likely the absence of a departure software system for international airlines.
The tools that will enable the airlines to function conveniently and allow passengers to use it freely, they are not at optimal level, and I think that's what is still putting restriction.
Foreign airlines, they come in with the 777s, the 747s, the Airbuses. Most of their wingspan length is about 62.8 meters. You're building a terminal and you are not even thinking about the apron. That's not, when an apron becomes an afterthought, then that's a big issue here.
One of these experts believes every challenge has a solution.
Even if the apron is tight, we have some aprons around the world where they park far away and they use the bus to get people out. It can be done.
Airports and airlines have a symbiotic relationship. Both need each other to thrive. Ultimately, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria must provide every operational tool needed for the international airlines to utilize the Terminal 2 in Lagos maximally. Bukola Joe Oketumbi, Channels Television News.
Let's find out what's happening in the world of business. Teniola Shopawali is standing by with details. Thanks a lot, Melinda. Welcome to Business News. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has asked the federal government to issue its members licenses to import diesel from the Republic of Niger and Chad. In a statement, the Director General of MAN, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kude, says the move will prevent the paralysis of manufacturing activities that could arise from the total shutdown of production operations. The demand by the manufacturers follows the record increase in the price of diesel, with negative consequences for the manufacturing sector and the larger economy. Trading activity at the Forex market was mostly negative this week, as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets fell by 23.62% to $581.24 million as at July the 8th. A further breakdown of trading results shows that total value of transactions at the FX spot market also fell by 17.85% to $505.66 million, and transactions at the FX derivatives market declined by 48.02% to $75.58 million. Similarly, the Naira depreciated by more than 1% to 424 Naira 45 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window of the Forex market, in contrast to 420 Naira 16 kobo recorded last week. And outside our shores, social media giant Twitter says it's exploring legal options after billionaire Elon Musk backed out of a $44 billion deal. The company insists it is committed to the terms agreed and it's now talking to lawyers. The terms of the deal require Musk to pay a $1 billion breakup fee if it does not complete the transaction. On Friday, the Tesla chief executive officer Elon Musk said he was terminating his $44 billion deal for Twitter, saying that the social media company had failed to provide information about fake accounts on the platform. Meanwhile, shares of Twitter fell 6% in extended trading. And back home at the domestic equities market, negative sentiments dominated trading activities as the all-share index dipped by about 0.53% week on week to close at 51,557.41 points. Particularly sell-offs in international breweries, Union Bank, FBN Holdings, FCMB and NASCON led the weekly loss. Likewise, activity levels were weaker than the previous week as trading volume and value declined by 39% and 57.7% week on week. Sectoral performance was bearish following losses in all key indexes. Academy Press topped the gainers chart for the week, while RT Briscoe led the decliners. The trio of GTCO, UBA and Transnational Corporation PLC contributed 26.67% and 25.86% to the total volume and value traded in the week. Similarly, the NASD OTC Securities Exchange Index closed the week negative. The NASD Securities Index fell by more than 0.03%. The exchange lost about 3 billion naira in value. However, volume rose by more than 4,000% to 43.46 million units of shares traded, while value traded for the week also rose up by over 1,700% to 637.85 million units. City Trust Holdings led a pack of 3 other gainers, while NIPCO PLC and Friesland Campina Wamco Nigeria were the sole losers for the week. Meanwhile, City Trust Holdings and Friesland Campina Wamco Nigeria were among top 5 stocks traded by value for the week. And that's business news tonight. I'm Teniola Shubowale. It's back to Melinda for the rest of the news at 10. Many thanks, Teniola. And for what's happening in the world of sports, here is Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Melinda. The Super Eagles midfielder Joe Aribo says he had fulfilled a lifelong ambition to play in the English Premier League after securing a move to Southampton from Scottish side Rangers FC. Aribo scored some 26 goals in 149 appearances for Rangers over the past 3 years and also won the Scottish Premiership and the Scottish Cup. However, the 25-year-old admitted the lure of the English top flight was too great after completing a 4-year deal that could rise to $12 million. He becomes Southampton's 5th signing of the transfer window after Gavin Bazunu, Matthias Liss, Amel Bella-Kotchup and Romeo Lavia. In tennis, Elena Rybakina has become the first player from Kazakhstan to win a Grand Slam title after beating the Tunisian 3rd seed Ons Jabeur in a gripping Wimbledon final. Rybakina fought back to win 3-6, 6-2, 6-2 and become the youngest Wimbledon singles champion since 2011. She's now the 4th youngest active major champion on the WTA Tour, older only than Iga Swiatek, Bianca Andreescu and Emma Raducanu. Wimbledon is her 3rd career title.
Elena Rabaikina.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the newly crowned Wimbledon women's champion, Elena Rabaikina, has applauded Ons Jabeur for her grit and tenacity. A Moscow-born Rabaikina, who has represented Kazakhstan for the past 4 years, said the Tunisian has shown that the future is bright for women's tennis. Jabeur, on her part, commended the fans at the championships for their support.
I want to congratulate Ons for the great match and everything you achieved. It's amazing, and I think you're inspiration not only for the young juniors but for everybody. Really, you have an amazing game, and I don't think that we have someone like this on tour, and it's just a joy to play against you. And I ran today so much, so I don't think that I need to do fitness anymore, honestly.
I'm trying to inspire, many generations from my country. I hope they're listening. And I also want to thank this beautiful crowd for their support during the 2 weeks. It's been amazing. Thank you very much. And I just want to wish Eid Mubarak to all Muslims around the world. It's very important.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Ons Jabeur.
Novak Djokovic has played down his friendship with Wimbledon final opponent Nick Kyrgios, but accepts the pair have a better relationship now than ever before. Sunday's singles final will be the third career meeting between Djokovic and Kyrgios, with the latter leading 2-0 in the head-to-head, winning both of the previous encounters in straight sets. Kyrgios made headlines during the ill-fated Adria Tour amid the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, when he slammed the Serb as boneheaded and called him a tool last year, when Djokovic wrote to Australian Open organisers asking for the easing of quarantine conditions. And that's sports news. I'm Ayo Tunde. Balagwins, back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Ayo. On the international scene, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has announced that he will step down on July the 13th after protesters stormed his official residence and set the Prime Minister's house ablaze. Neither the Prime Minister nor the President were in the building. Protesters have been calling for the leaders to resign for months now, as the country continues to struggle through its worst economic crisis since independence.
Soldiers and police were unable to hold back the crowd of chanting protesters demanding President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's resignation. Thousands, including Buddhist priests, carried black and national flags and shouted, "Gota, go home." Police fired shots and tear gas in the air, but were unable to stop the angry crowd from surrounding the presidential residence. With few security personnel inside, protesters were seen milling around the house, some of them splashing in the swimming pool.
It's time that we got all our stolen money back to this country. And also the air conditions are running in that presidential palace while people don't have electricity in their homes.
Officials say the president had left the official residence on Friday as a safety precaution ahead of the planned weekend demonstration. Hours later, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's home was on fire after protesters broke in and set it alight. After a day of fury and violence, the two senior leaders of the country have agreed to step down. The Indian Ocean island of 22 million people is struggling under a severe foreign exchange shortage that has limited essential imports of fuel, food and medicine, plunging it into the worst economic crisis since independence in 1948. Many blame the country's decline on economic mismanagement by the president, and there have been months of protests demanding his resignation.
Japanese police have admitted there were flaws in the security for former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was shot dead in the southern city of Nara on Friday. A gunman opened fire on Mr. Abe at a political campaign event. Police say the suspect, named Tetsuya Yamagami, held a grudge against a specific organization he believed Mr. Abe belonged to. In news again. Muslims in Nigeria today joined their counterparts in other parts of the world to celebrate the Eid-al-Kabir amid calls for unity amongst Nigerians and decisive action by the government to secure the citizens. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari appealed to Nigerians to report bandits, kidnappers and terrorists who live in their midst to help government tackle insecurity. That's the news at 10 tonight. On behalf of the team, good night.